We start. Just want to check. My name is Kennedy Kurisoma email. I just want to check if the following people are here before we start with the program. You know, it's difficult to identify people these days with the masks on. Just to check, Mr. Mdumlava, is he here? Mr. Angwan Makwarela is here. Just raise your hand, please. Ms. Refule Buterezi. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Ms. Gile Kunana. Koti? Sorted? Okay, thank you. Good morning. Good morning. May we please start with our program. In our culture, we always believe that it is proper to put this kind of work before our Lord before we can begin with anything else. My name is Kuriso Kennedy Maimela. I'll be directing the program. I am a board member at CIDB. We worked very closely with the late Mr. Cyril Vuyani Gamede. Let me request Nkosinati Kuseni to come and lead us in prayer, then we can continue with the program. Thank you. Kosi?
Let us pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty Father, we are gathered here today, not because of our own will, but we are gathered today to celebrate the life of your Son that you had given him to us. Let this day be led not by us, but by your Spirit. Let your Spirit guide his soul to your arms. Let him be welcomed by you and your holy angels as we worship you today on his behalf. We pray that your Spirit dwells amongst all of us and we continue to enjoy this day that you had made us today, for us today. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Kosinati, for leading us in prayer. Good morning once more. And really, we're saying good morning not only to people that are seated here, but we're saying good morning to the whole country at large, which the late Cyril Vuyani Gamede represented. The country which he worked so hard for, all the corners of this country. Honorable Minister, Patricia Delil, and the entire Public Works and Infrastructure Department, the Deputy Minister, the Honorable Ms. Kivit, all CIDB board members, Me, Mpamori Rosemary Gamede, with us here, CIDB management and staff, the family of the late Mr. Cyril Vuyani Gamede, colleagues from the Engineering and Built Environment Fraternity, friends, and all those stakeholders that are here with us on-site and off-site in this Memorial Day for our late leader, legend, and martyr. I'm truly sorry for your loss, and I want you to know, Mr. Vuyani Cyril Gamede, you'll always be in my heart, and I believe in the hearts of all the people that are here with us today. So thank you so much, colleagues, friends, family, for coming out today to support and celebrate the amazing life of this leader and legend in Cyril Vuyani Gamede. We're going to receive, as per the program, the eulogy by family. But before that, if you just take a look at the program that you have before you, or the program that has been sent to you, those who are on off-site, we're going to have slight changes on the program. After eulogy, we're going to have a look at some of the slides, pictures of the late Gamede. Then we're going to have the Deputy Minister coming in to represent the entire Department of Public Works and Infrastructure Fraternity or sector. Then the program will continue as is after her. So that is the order within which the program will take. Let me then request Nomzamo Bengu to come and give us the eulogy as we're getting the hymn or getting any.
Yes.
Cyril was a light in this world. He contributed a lot in the built environment and engineering industries in this country. To many in that professional space, he was a mentor who never compromised on business principles. His loyalty, courage, and fearlessness will forever be appreciated, valued, and remembered for many years to come. As one of the most astute CEOs of the CIDB has ever had, his commitment to Black empowerment and transformation was impeccable. But to us, this man was Stambo. To us, this man was father to Neo. To us, this man was umuntu kaMphamori. To us, this was a brother, an uncle, a father, and a very dedicated husband, and the funny man of the family. Stambo, as he was fondly known by his family and friends, always espoused a strong vision and optimism which steered him around numerous obstacles in his path. That is proven by the success of many young black professionals who have made many leaps in their career because of Cyril's continuous commitment to the advancement of black engineers. He has also played a crucial role in strengthening the bilateral links globally for the benefits of South African engineering sector. His life has indeed been a reflection of what humankind deserves if the world is to enjoy peace and prosperity. Hence, as a family, we are urging all who worked with him to continue shining the light by carrying it with their own lives. Cyril was also a disciplined cadre of the liberation movement. He started his political activism in the student movement and went on to play a crucial role in the underground liberation activities, especially in KwaZulu-Natal during the agonizing period leading up to 1994. He was an active member of the South African Communist Party throughout all his adult life. Our family has lost a wonderful companion, advisor, and mentor. We are so honored to have been part of his life. We are grieving for the amazing relationship we all had with him. We are grieving for Mphamore, his wife of 30 years, who has lost a lifetime companion, for his daughter Neo, who has also known this wonderful person for such a short time in her life, and for all of us who have lost a true friend.
Thank you so much for the mellow music that we're receiving periodically. Keep on. Babu Dlamini, our Deputy Chair, and our Chair, Dr. Skepers, I think she'll be joining us. I think you would agree with me that as board members, looking at the kind of preparation that our management and staff, the committed staff and management of CIDB, were able to put together this day in memory of our great leader. I really loved the motto from the invitations, which says, "Your great leadership and passion for the industry will forever be remembered." This is very powerful. So I want to commend Donald, time management and staff for putting this together in this way. And I think, Babu Dlamini, this is how we feel that it should go this way as we remember our colleague, friend, and leader in Mr. Cyril Vuyani Gamede. As I said, the program would have changed a bit. We would be receiving a talk, a speech by our Deputy Minister, Honorable Nokolo Kivit, our leader in the sector, somebody who's very close to the entities of the department. As we see various entities aligned to the department, we realize the good work that she's putting through in that regard. And I will just receive signal because she'll be talking to us virtually, whether she's ready. Let me just check. As they're checking.
I am connected.
You are connected, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Director.
Thank you so much. Let's continue to observe COVID-19 protocols as we are in this gathering, on-site and off-site. Deputy Minister, your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Program Director. Allow me to greet and acknowledge the family, Mrs. Gamede and the entire Gamede family, relatives and friends, the board of the CIDB, together with the staff, management, and all leaders of that organization, our sister entities in the built environment sector, friends, colleagues, comrades, and compatriots. Allow me to greet everyone a very good morning on this very sad morning, because talking of that Cyril's passing is not very easy. Because first it has been sudden to some of us, and therefore his passing suddenly of Mr. Cyril Vuyani Gamede is an inestimable loss, not only to his family, to his loved one, to his better half, to his colleagues, but also to the broader South African society. His passing comes at a critical time in our country's development, when all well-meaning South Africans are recognizing the value of selfless public servants who place the needs of their communities, the citizens, above their own narrow interests and short-term aspirations. Dr. Cyril Gamede's life was an example of commitment to serve his country and his people across a wide spectrum of activities and in many areas of professional excellence. While we mourn the passing of someone who had the potential to contribute even more to the reconstruction and recovery of our country's economy, we can celebrate the life and achievements of a pioneer in many fields and a leader with exceptional skills and abilities. When we look back on the growth of the South African construction industry, as well as the engineering sector, since the democratic transition of 1995, the name of Cyril Vuyani Gamede always features prominently. More than most, he committed himself to the growth and development of young Black engineers, always looking for opportunities to identify and nurture talent, always inspiring his peers to strive towards excellence, always providing mentorship, leadership, and vision to achieve higher levels of quality and distinction. His passion for the transformation of society started during his undergraduate days at the University of Cape Town, where he played an active role in student politics as a dedicated member of the liberation struggle and a warrior for justice and transformation. At the same time, he pursued excellence in the academic field to prepare himself for a much admired professional career. His quest for knowledge and continuous improvement was never sated, as is highlighted in the many postgraduate and further training opportunities he pursued throughout his lifetime. The engineering and construction sectors quickly recognized his immense talents and entrusted him with successive positions of leadership. He served as the president of the National Society of Black Engineers, president of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, and president of the Engineering Council of South Africa. In an interview shortly after his election to this high position, he clearly set out the priorities which characterized his approach to reconstruction and transformation. South Africa urgently needs to improve the quality of engineering training to ensure that we have a sufficient pool of professionals available to meet the developmental needs of the engineering at the time. And I quote, "We want to make engineering accessible to everyone. We want to inspire young Black South Africans to take up engineering as a career of choice. We want to grow the pool of people who can contribute to the country's developmental needs." Close quote. And that's him that I've quoted. He took his philosophy of care and growth to every sector, to every organization, and to every society he served. He had the courage of his conviction and was a very principled man. Cyril Gamede's own career path demonstrates this commitment. As chief executive of Umgeni Water, he expanded access to basic services to rural communities in KwaZulu-Natal, striving to ensure universal access to potable water, and brought the organization to financial stability. And after a short stint in the private sector, he returned to the public arena with his appointment as CEO of the CIDB in 2020. In this pivotal position, he brought stability and efficiency. His calm presence during the challenging times of the global pandemic enabled the CIDB to grow from organization design to organizational development. And his leadership inspired an organization which plays a pivotal role in South Africa's broader economic and social development trajectories. His vision was clear. He wanted to build a transformed construction industry which serves the objectives of economic growth and deliver projects at globally competitive standards. I had the privilege of working closely with Dr. Gamede, as I would affectionately call him in my meeting. I worked with him in my capacity as Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, who has been assigned the responsibility to oversee all entities that fall within the ambit of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. His leadership, I was always impressed by his vision, his leadership qualities, his thorough knowledge of the construction sector, and his understanding of the role this industry can play in our country's economic transformation. There's no doubt that our future economic growth will be led by massive investments in critical and strategic infrastructure. As we emerge from the current crisis exacerbated by the global pandemic, we will increasingly look towards the construction and engineering sectors to lead the recovery and change the lives of the people for the better. Our infrastructure investment plan provides the framework for the actions that we are taking to achieve this. And there are detailed programs and initiatives that are already being rolled out despite the pressures that are being placed on available budgets. It is an immense tragedy that Cyril Gamede will not be with us to participate in these exciting initiatives. We will miss his leadership, his clarity of thought, and his immense skills and experience. However, I believe that we can best honor his contribution by following his examples of selfless service and commitment to the tasks at hand. He was an inspiration for the countless young engineers and other professionals during his storied career. His legacy will outlive him through their achievements and in broader national efforts to bring economic reconstruction and recovery to South African communities. I want to express my deepest condolences to his family and those of our minister, as he's clearly mandated me to represent the department owing to her not so good health condition, but also given the fact that I'm the one who has been working very closely, almost monthly with Tate Gamede. And I would want to therefore express our deepest condolences to his family, to his friends and his colleagues across the spectrum of his activities. We honor his memory and we celebrate his life, quite an exceptional life. Allow me, Program Director, to wish the family God's love and strength during this difficult time, to wish his family, to wish his colleagues God's love, God's strength. May they pick up the spear, take from where he has left it, and soldier on in this arena of life. As we know, we shall one by one join him later on during our lifetime. My apologies once more, Program Director, for making you change your program. Death is all around us. I have to now join a funeral service, which is where I am as I speak to you now. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And once more, my apologies for making you break the protocols. Sometimes it's out of necessity. May Tate Gamede's spirit live on, and may his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Colleagues, in my life, I experienced a concept called empowerment. Now, I experienced this concept in one of the functions that I attended, not as a program director, but just as a colleague. And the program director kept on repeating what the speaker would have said or try to summarize that. With time, they told him that you are not empowered. So I won't repeat what speakers say or try to summarize those because I'm not empowered. I could see other people who are off-site, amazed at what the deputy minister was saying about the experience. Maybe let me just say, Cyril Vuyani Gamede served this country for almost 4 decades. That is the experience that the deputy minister is talking to. So he has really served our country in the different positions that he held in different provinces. The program says here we need to have the slides of the late as we have the mellow music in the background. I'm not sure if they are ready for us. Then we'll continue with the program as is. so much. Yes, Mr. Mlamuli Buthelezi is coming through as a friend to talk to us about what we should know about Cyril. Let me say this, say not in grief, he is no more, but live in thankfulness that he was.
Director of Programs, greetings to the Gamede family and the relatives that are here and joining virtually. Greetings to the friends, greetings to the colleagues out of CIDB that have put together this memorial service. Greetings indeed to the leadership out of government, all protocols observed. On behalf of friends, I would first of all like to convey our heartfelt sorrow to the Gamede family, the relatives here present and those who are not even here due to the prevailing COVID restrictions in the land. No words can ever make up for a loss of this magnitude, but our prayers are with the family in this difficult time. It is rather daunting to have to speak on behalf of the friends of a person like Cyril, who by his nature had many friends from the multiple dimensions of his highly decorated life. Let me therefore declare up front that he is not a type of friend I could easily summarize in 10 minutes. Our paths first crossed more than 40 years ago in Umlazi Township, Durban. Cyril was a student of my mother at Umlazi Secondary near V section. Where he came from, my mother was intrigued by this young and very brilliant student who was hardworking and was excelling academically. I think Cyril was then in what is today called grade 9. I was introduced to him then, and we came together never to be separated again. Waba owakithi wesibili kubafowethu. Nami ngaba owakubo wesithathu kubafowabo. I also got to know his parents well and his siblings almost abenothami. Ubephuma ekhaya eliphilayo. In good conscience, I give credit where credit is merited. Baba and Mama Ugamede Sr. did a very fine job to raise for us a person we grew to call Ustambu. We were to meet later as schoolmates at Vuguzake High School still in Umlazi. And Cyril continued to excel academically with his passion for maths and science. A dedicated and disciplined student who was destined to be what he became in life, a highly successful executive, both in the private and the public sector. At school, Stambu was a class ahead of me and naturally became a role model to many of us. Cyril had a humorous side to him and took what he did seriously, but not always himself. I remember particularly when he had to explain his struggles academically and professionally later. In his unique high-pitched voice, he would tell us a story about a Zulu essay he had to write in the exam, entitled, Lamahlati ayakhuluma. Cyril would say, Lamahlati ayakhuluma for half a page. Kwase kuthi nya, athula amahlati. And he had to start a new topic in the exam. Cyril was a scholar, a reader who exemplified excellence in whatever he touched. On this day, more than any other, we thank God for the life and times of Cyril Gamede and thank him personally for the blessing that he was to us. He was a good-hearted man who also helped many people, particularly in the engineering field. Many small and medium enterprises also benefited from his passion for the advancement of black participation in the engineering field. To quote, "We will therefore bury his body, but not his soul. We will bury his heart, but not his love. We will bury his hands, but not his good works. His pioneering spirits, as part of the first generation of black engineers, lives on. I worked very closely with this giant and benefited immensely from his wisdom, compassion, and sound advice. We thank the Gamede family and especially Mpamore for availing Stambi to be of service to multitudes. Thank you, Mpamore, for being the companion you were to him and the warmth with which you treated many of us as his friends. We know that he is in a better place now, where there shall be no more suffering nor affliction by disease. We owe it to the next generation to pick up where he left off and face the earthly challenges before us. Sengifinqa, sithi lala ngoxolo Magadlela, Mngonyama. Silahlekelwe kakhulu ngokudlula kwakho. Sithi koMagadlela nomndeni wonkana, duduzekani. Indlela yethu sonke lena. UCyril uyilimile indima yakhe. Sithi akalale ngoxolo. Charles Dickens once said, "The pain of parting is nothing to the pleasure of meeting again." Siyobonana kwelizayo. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you so much, Mr. Buthelezi. You actually did what I wanted you to do to make sure that we have a good memory of our friend. Sometimes we think we don't have to laugh during memorial celebrations, but this is the time. This is the time that we have to experience, celebrate our departed legend. Mr. Buthelezi, I'm tempted, but I'm not empowered. Let me just simply say, Cyril, your life was a blessing, your memory a treasure, you are loved beyond words, and you are missed beyond measure. I'll be calling through Mr. Mdu Mlawa, the President of National Society of Black Engineers. As Mdu is coming through, is Mdu here? Great, yeah? We had a look at the slides, pictorial evidence of the life led by Mr. Gamede. He represented various professional bodies in this country. He was a member of the South African Institution of Mechanical Engineers, SIMEC. He was a member of Professional Engineer with EXA. He was a member of Water Institute of South Africa, WISA. He was a member of International Society of Explosive Engineers. He was a member of the Pietermaritzburg Flying Club. He was a member of the Light Flight Flying Club. He was a registered professional engineer with the Engineering Council of South Africa, EXA. As you would see his colleagues coming through to talk about his contribution and the value that he leaves us to be able to follow in terms of leadership and energy. So.
Thank you, Program Director. Mrs. Mpamore Gamede, members of the Gamede family, friends, colleagues from CIDB, representation from government, fellow engineers, and distinguished guests. First, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today to help Cyril Gamede's family and friends to celebrate his life. I am here to represent the National Society of Black Engineers and say goodbye to our founding president. Mlamuli was here before me. He was a deputy president of Mr. Gamede, and then he took over from him after he had served as a president. We've got other NEC members who are joining us live, and also the past presidents. We will always remember Cyril as a champion of black excellence in the engineering profession. It is a big loss to us as an organization as well as the country at large. Those of us who loved Cyril and feel the pain with his passing know him by many titles that he held. We knew him as a brother, a husband, Uncle Cyril, or as he was affectionately known to his friends, as Stampo. I, like so many others in the engineering profession, knew him as a colleague, as a mentor, and above all as a friend. Through his own suffering and setbacks in life, Cyril Gamede became more alive to the plight and suffering of fellow black engineers and engineering students in our country as far back as early 1990s. A serious problem of high failure rates among black engineering students was identified at the then University of Natal, and a handful of qualified black engineers were approached to intervene. Stampo was one of them. At the time, he had been practicing as a qualified engineer for several years and had acquired a master's degree in engineering at the prestigious University of Cape Town. It took no persuasion for Stampo to get involved in what was a mission that resonated with his moral values and principles. The speakers before me did make mention that he was a highly principled man. Stampo worked tirelessly, including on weekends, crafting the NSPE founding documents and strategies, which were anchored to the upliftment of black engineers into the mainstream economy of this country. He has made an indelible contribution to the profession, and today we are standing on the broad shoulders of our gentle giant. He has shown us the courage that is required to shape the direction of the engineering profession in South Africa, and it is now incumbent on us to carry on his work and legacy. He was a well-trained and highly competent engineer with a passion for transformation. Stampo touched many people who crossed his path. He will remind us that not everything we do in life should be motivated by money. We had a bigger responsibility to grow the engineering profession in our communities where we come from. That's what earned him the respect of many black engineers, and it became as no surprise that he was unanimously elected as the first president of the National Society of Black Engineers. Many of us benefited from his interventions, even at the Engineering Council of South Africa, where he served as a president. At the time, it was very difficult for some of us to register. As a black engineer in those early days, you had to prove yourself beyond reasonable doubt that you were ready to be registered as a professional engineer. We had friends who were white that we studied with them at universities. I studied at UCT, and they would easily qualify as professional engineers, whereas some of us as black engineers, it was very difficult. And when Stampo took over at EXA, he made sure that the institution and the thinking in the institution was transformed. We are grieving, but highly inspired by his achievements, and his legacy will be carried forward into the next generations of black engineers. More recently, Stampu led the establishment of the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment at the University of Zululand, a first for the historically black universities. Stampu's work ethic was not to champion the needs of those with wealth or power or political connections. It was to give a voice to those who were not heard, to give structural support to the ladder of opportunity for young people that are coming up, to make real the dream of our founding principles as an organization. He was given the gift of time that others were not, and he used that gift wisely to touch as many lives and right as many wrongs as possible, as the years will allow. Whilst his causes became deeply personal, his disagreements never did. He was a man of nobility and learning, which prevented serious differences of views from becoming barriers of cooperation and mutual respect. And that's how Stampu became one of the greatest leaders of our time. He did it by sticking to principle while seeking compromise and common cause, not through deal-making and horse trading alone, but through friendship, kindness, and a sense of humor. It is not only Cyril's major corporate achievements that we will remember, but it is also his giving heart that we will miss. All the charity work that he did for NSBE was his way of giving back to his community, and we thank him and we thank his family dearly for that. We cannot know for certain how long we have here on earth. We cannot foresee the trials and misfortunes that will test us along the way. We cannot know God's plan for us. What we can do, however, is to live out our lives as best as we can with purpose and love and joy. We can use each day to show those who are closest to us how much we care about them and treat others with the kindness and respect that we wish for ourselves. We can learn from our mistakes. We are human beings, we all make mistakes, and we can grow from our failures. And we can strive at all costs to make a better world so that someday, if we are blessed with a chance to look back on our time here on earth, we can know that we spent our time well, that we made a difference, that our short presence on earth had a lasting impact on the lives of other human beings around us. This is how Stampu lived. This is his legacy. The greatest expectations were placed upon his shoulders because of who he was. But he surpassed them. He surpassed them all because of who he became. We do not cry for him today because of the prestige attached to his name or his office. We cry because we loved his kind and gentle giant who persevered through pain and challenges of life. Stampu has gone home now, guided by his faith and by the light of those he has loved and lost. At last, he is with them once more, leaving those of us who grieve his passing with the good memories that he gave us, the good that he did, the dream he kept alive. May God bless Cyril Gamede and may his soul rest in eternal peace. Ngiyabonga.
Wahala, Wakazimula,
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm starting to like the name Stampo. Is it Stampo? What's that? Stampo. Yeah, I think let's use that continuously for the better part of the day. I know Mlamuli spoke about that as you guys were growing up. Now I recall when we appointed Stampo to the CIDB, the very first day we had a meeting with the staff, introducing him to the staff in terms of being the CEO of CIDB. I remember vividly Nkosi, Shane Makwela asked the question, now that we also know that apart from being Cyril Vuyani Gamede, you are also called Stampo, and we know what it means. Are we supposed to be scared as staff members? As humorous as he was able to get a joke through that. You know, he was a very humorous guy. Every meeting he would start with a joke. Candice, I think she's here, or yes, at the back, she knows other things that he would say, even his mottos of LKS, we will talk about that later. Let me call upon people who are empowered. You see now we are learning much about the value that he brings or that he brought to this environment through the people that he worked with in various fraternities. Mr. Angwan Makwarela, as you're coming through from South African Institute of Mechanical Engineers, you can come through. Deputy Minister, what you've been talking about is exactly what our colleagues are coming through to share with us, the experience they've had based on what you have had as well with him working within various entities. Mr. Makwarela, your time.
Thank you, Program Director. I greet you all. I greet the family, Mem Pamora and Neo. May the Lord be with you and your family during this time and beyond. I thank the family for giving me an opportunity to talk about Cyril. A great man has departed. He has touched the lives of many, and the impact that he has had remains with us. I first met him at Umgeni Water. He was my boss's boss, and later he became my boss. At the time, in 1998, Cyril was the director of operations, while I was the maintenance manager inland, later on promoted to being operations services manager under him. So at the time, I had done this government certificate of competency under factories, and I thought it was sufficient as I was in a production and maintenance environment. But Cyril did convince me that I also need to register as a professional engineer. So in 2000, I got registered as a professional engineer. And since then, I started serving under in AXA in a committee called Professional Advisory Committee, where we review applications from those who want to register as professional engineers. So, having been influenced by him, I also contacted other engineers who got to start serving like I was serving at EXA. So Cyril's influence was so huge that, even today, I'm still serving at EXA, but in a different capacity. As a member of accreditation teams that go to various universities at regular intervals just to check that those programs are indeed still acceptable, such that at the end of the day you can register as a professional engineer. Cyril was an amazing human being with all-rounded capabilities. It's very rare to find someone with all these capabilities. He had sound interpersonal skills. He was a great negotiator, a great storyteller. If you were sitting with him, you will be listening to him with his great stories, full of humor, as you have heard. I also got to know that he's a poet, a praise singer. Such a witty character, you will always laugh when he told his stories. He was a highly gifted engineer, a seasoned strategist, a courageous human being, yet so kind and approachable. He was a great mentor. He was able to empower others without being apologetic about it. So, some people get into these positions where they are supposed to be so effective, yet they are not able to use those positions well in order to empower others. That was not Cyril. Cyril was able to empower others in a proper way and not being apologetic about it. I thank God for placing Cyril in such strategic positions where he had such a huge impact on people's lives, whether formally or informally. For as long as it was him, Cyril, people around him will benefit a great deal. Over the 23 years that I knew him, he held an array of positions, including director, member, CEO, president, chairperson, all top leadership. But that's because the people that he came in contact with immediately became aware of his capabilities. To lead your own peers, especially in the built environment, is a great feat. Cyril was so committed to the development of the engineering profession. He was a volunteer. He held key positions that he was not remunerated for. He spent thousands of hours selflessly serving others. In the wake of Cyril's influence, I still serve at the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, of which he was the president of from year 1999 to 2001. The normal term there is 2 years. He became president when he was 36 years old. That was quite young, of the Institution of Mechanical Engineering, which he had joined in 1987. It was just 11 years later that he became the president. At the time of his passing, he was still a fellow of the Institution of Mechanical Engineering. I will always remember him as a kind and courageous person. May we follow in his example, because if we can just do a small percentage of what he was doing, be it 50%, even less, will make a big, big difference. Thank you.
Tate hakisa sipila huleli hayela na Yesu untu sekitibe hulukile huluki seukarimile
Makorera. Amanda, thank you so much. You talk about poetry. You talk about many skills that Cyril had, some of which we didn't know, some of which we couldn't experience. But today we're able to know that he was a man of many talents. Sesimpamore, let me recite this poem to you, colleagues, friends, family. If I should go tomorrow. If I should go tomorrow, it will never be goodbye, for I have left my heart with you. So don't you ever cry. The love that's deep within me shall reach you from the stars. You'll feel it from the heavens, and it will heal the scars. Let me request the presence in the podium of Ms. Refule Buthelezi, the Vice President of Engineering Council of South Africa. Is she here? Or she's here? Thank you so much.
Jerusalem, ikayalam, elilithanda Jerusalem, Jerusalem, ikayalam, Jerusalem, Jerusalem.
Program Director, the Gamede family, leaders of the church, government leaders, leaders of organized business, fellow colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me convey my sincere gratitude to Bab Cyril Gamede's family, Memampore, and their daughter Neo, for their honor and opportunity they have graciously afforded me to speak at this God-appointed occasion. We are all gathered here, united in our desire to honor the life of an extraordinary professional engineer, paying fitting tribute and to bid final farewell in loving memory of a man of his stature and character, Baba Cyril Vuyani Gamede, Stambo. I've come here as one of Mr. Gamede's professional colleagues to say a few words about his professional life and some of his contribution to the engineering fraternity. Babu Gamede was a professional engineer and served on EXA Council as president for 2 terms, with the last term ending November 2020. As president of council, Babu Gamede was faced with a mammoth task, as you've heard before, to transform and reposition the brand of EXA as an effective regulator, and with his inimitable leadership, Babu Gamede steered EXA towards great success and solidified EXA's advisory role to the public sector and the industry at large. Furthermore, Babu Gamede pioneered in forging and maintaining relationships between EXA and its key stakeholders, including the Voluntary Association, as you've heard from the CIMEC, the International Engineering Alliances, the bodies within the African continent, the higher education institutions, and key role players within the sector. By his death, the engineering fraternity will miss a visionary, an intelligent, an articulate, a pragmatic, a humble, and a dependable leader, an extraordinaire. His passing leaves a mark in the engineering sector. which he served with passion, dedication, and commitment. I'm here today as an example of that. As a young black female, leading an institution such as the Engineering Council of South Africa. It's this man. Thank you. Fellow mourners, as Ernest Hemingway, author and journalist, once said, every man's life ends the same. It ends the same way. It is only in the details of how he lived that distinguishes one man from another. The engineering sector has lost a leader, an advocate for development, a man who acknowledged and appreciated talent in the South African professional engineers. Gamede strongly believed that South Africa does not have a shortage of engineers, but he rather knew that what is required is how to package the engineers in ensuring that the infrastructure needs of the country are achieved. The industry at large will forever be grateful for Gamede, Mambrose, you know, for being such a great teacher, an amazing human, and for steering contribution in the sector of engineering. Our sorrow is lessened only slightly with the comforting thought that we were privileged to know him. I was privileged to know him. Lala Noxolo, Istanbul. Ngiyabonga.
Dear
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Refilwe. Stambo really touched a lot of people. We've been talking at CIDB that if it wasn't of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're going to try and have memorial services every day in every province so that we could allow everyone to come and talk about the leadership and the experience they've shared with Stambo. On the program, you have about 4 different bodies that are talking today. We probably have 20 more that could be here to do the same. But based on where we are in the country today, it is not possible. But they're all represented in this regard. Some are actually attending offsite. He was very instrumental in many ways. If you go to the University of Zululand, you realize that he was instrumental in establishing the Faculty of Engineering, where he also served as a council member. Past few weeks, he was still involved as a council member of the University of Venda, and I know I was talking to them this morning, they are attending virtually as well. So we are not talking just about mediocrity here, we're talking about leadership that sustains life in general. And that's what we're here for today. And for those who didn't know much about what he did or what he does, today you're able to realize the value of that leadership, the Matai, the legend that we had, we're able to then say today, we have lost so much physically, but we've gained so much in terms of experience. Miss Kile Kwinana Mteto, you may come to the fore. Is she here? Or she's offside? Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You must point because I can't see the back. Kile, your time. Sorry about that, man.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity. I'm just hoping that everybody can hear me that side, because the reception that I'm getting from that side is that the signal is not that good. So I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Honorable Deputy Minister Nokolo Kibet, the leadership of the Department of Public Works in its entirety, the CIDB, the captains of the industry, the family Gamede, and friends, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say all protocol observed. Allow us today to also join in isiZulu kuthiwa size nathi sobhodlela emswaneni about this fallen soldier, this fallen legend, this fallen I don't even know how to actually magnify him as an individual, because you know, usually when you go to funerals and people start talking about people, sometimes even the family becomes shocked with you. Whom are you talking about? But I must say, without fear of contradiction, that all what they have said and what they have come to witness today about Ubab Gamede, we fully agree with as an industry. As an industry, which is the construction sector in this regard, we have got various number of organizations. And Ubab Gamede had the time to actually deal with each and every one of us individually as organization and also collectively. And mind you, I must also say that we are not an easy industry to deal with, because we've got everybody from all walks of life, the educated, the uneducated, the knowledgeable, the unknowledgeable, the ones that think they know when they don't know, and so on and so forth. But I must say that under the leadership of Ubab Gamede, we have been able to feel all belonging to the CIDB. I must actually say that I'm one of the people that had been fighting the CIDB for the longest time, but he was able to also bring about sanity in the discussion, so that the discussions are not just about skip, skip, and donor all the time, but they become focused and they get us into crafting a solution for the construction sector. Baba Gamede came into the sector not just as an individual who was hired by the CIDB, but with the credentials that come with it. One of the very rare characteristics that he had is the characteristic of a professional person who's also not out of touch with the reality on the ground. The knowledge of the industry that he displayed showed us that he's not just an engineer, with a high nose that goes out there and say he knows it all, but he was also humble to be able to touch each and every person right at the bottom with the language, in the language that everybody could be able to understand. As an industry, we have lost an asset because we had so much that we were anticipating. We had so much that we had planned to do with Baba Gamede. We had so much that we were going to be partnering with the CIDB to try and address, stemming from the issue of the registration of the professionals in this country, because we've got a whole lot of graduates that come out of university, and some of them end up being despondent because they don't get to the point where they get to be registered and get their PR status. He was very much instrumental and very passionate about that. But above all, he also wanted to see a construction sector that can be able to be transformed, ensuring that there is women participation, there's youth participation, there's participation of people with disability, and ensuring that there's going to be programs that speak to that, so that we don't just talk about transformation, but we live, we breathe, and we implement transformation accordingly. Maybe it's because it's also a black child that was born during the times of apartheid that made him to be able to always identify and remember the plight of a black child and the plight of a black business person. I remember how he fondly narrated his story, where he came from, when we had invited him as the Black Business Council in the Built Environment Youth Program, where we had a CEO meetup. And one of the questions that I was asking him was that we have got the youth that is very despondent today. Some of them are sitting at home with their degrees. Some of them are working in jobs that they have not studied for. What do you have to say to these young people? And I remember him saying to them, in every situation, never ever give up. And he started narrating his story, where he came from, how he grew up, and so on and so forth, just to give the support to the youngsters of this country. And we further had another engagement with him with SAWIC as well. Even then, he was very much clear and focused about what he wants to achieve for the CIDB and what programs did he have in store and plans that he had in his strategy in ensuring that the women of this country stop being just on the periphery of the sector of construction. He was very much passionate about empowerment, and he offered his time to speak to us as an industry. And that made us to gain that understanding of how the CIDB works, what is the mandate of the CIDB, how do we contribute as stakeholders into the CIDB into the mandate of the CIDB, and how as a sector do we contribute in the total economic recovery of the sector as well. So we spent so much time with him, and he would, in his busy schedule, after being everything else that everybody has spoken about, and still being a CEO and also being a husband and a father to his children, a son, a brother, he'll still be able to get time to come and sit down with us and engage, not just for the sake of engaging, but really engage robustly so, debate matters robustly so, but above all, give his understanding and his expertise as far as issues are concerned. The same is in the industry, because there is no way that you could speak to Baba Gamede and you would not get a response. He's not that kind of a CEO who, when you send an email, you're only going to receive a response from the PA, but he will pick up the phone and speak to you and ensure that whatever that you have asked as a query at that particular time gets to be responded to and answered accordingly. If you can't give an answer, he'll still tell you that I'm going to refer this matter to so-and-so to come and deal with you. So we've got a lot of issues that we've raised to him that some were coming from our membership, and queries that we've had, and also issues that are affecting the industry, and he has been able to deal with each and every one of them in a very, very amicable way, even if sometimes those issues were presented in emotional debates that could have just caused anybody to say, I am not going to speak to these people. He did everything with poise. The CIDB was actually a platform for him to bring about the long-awaited change into the reality. Like I'm saying, he had a lot of plans that he had put into place to ensure that these things do happen. Just to name a few, today we are talking and we are very grateful for the implementation of the BULL program, which is a program that we've been fighting for as an industry, saying that why do we have a CIDB that does not necessarily look at the issues of development? But above all, what can we do to ensure that the CIDB develops the teeth that it needs to bite as an authority and a regulator in the sector? So the BULL program is actually one of the instruments that we're actually going to bring that. And we are hoping that by his departure does not mean that the CIDB drops the ball, but the programs have got to continue. We are also boasting as women the awards that are referred to as EWIC awards. And these are the awards that are actually looking at acknowledging the participation of women and their contribution in the construction sector. These are some of the things that we're looking at and saying it's an accolade of what has happened during the time of a leader whose time had actually arrived. We are grateful, Bab Gamede. We thank you so much for all the inputs, for everything that you have allowed to become operational from the strategic document that you've also had. Let us continue to ensure that his legacy actually lives all the way. The only way that we can be able to ascertain that his legacy lives beyond his time on this earth is by us continuing exactly that, his legacy. Continuing to give our time to the industry, to give our time to those of us who are less fortunate, to give our time to those of us that are aspiring to become leaders of this country in the future and also in the sector at large. To also make the difference in the positions that we get to be given as people that are in leadership, and make sure that we bring about the change that needs to be brought without being apologetic and also without fear or favor. Our heartfelt gratitude goes to the family. Mamu Gamede nengane siyabonga kakhulu ngalesikhathi nisipherson ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi sispende nobaba Gamede. Siyazi ukuthi from time to time he would also have to sacrifice his family quality time to come and spend his time with us, as though he knew that his time would be very, very, very short. We're still looking forward to having more time with him. And as they say, make sure that today is actually done with everything that needs to be done for today, because you don't know what does tomorrow bring. And tomorrow is actually just an illusion. And I'm saying this with all humility, given the fact that all of us sitting around today to mourn the death of Bab Gamede have in our own personal space been either affected, infected, or even lost the loved one because of this COVID-19. So let us look after ourselves, let us take responsibility. Let us ensure that our working environment are also safe for the people that we are working with, so that we can be able to live beyond this pandemic. It is a very, very sad state of affairs in our country, given the triple challenges that we're always talking about. But we appreciate the contribution that has been made by the family in this regard through association with Babu Gamede. As the industry, we are crying over this fallen soldier. We are crying over this man who was able to emancipate and ensure empower the people of this country. We pray that may his soul rest in eternal peace and may his spirit live beyond this time. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Seskile. Wonderful words. I'm not sure whether Seskile, Umakwarera, Ndu, and Mulamuli had a caucus before this day that this is how we should speak on this day. But whatever you guys are talking to, very similar. It then means that it is true, as you note, that we lost value that would be difficult to replace in a short space of time in terms of the work that he brought to the built environment and engineering fraternity at large. He was instrumental at CIDB in the conclusion of the OD program and also made sure with limited resources that gets capacitated. Most of you would know that at CIDB, through his leadership, we saw great improvement in audits. We saw various access of online applications by those who are not able to actually walk in or drive into the CIDB. And there are many things that were still in the pipeline through his leadership to make sure that people have access to those kind of services. He led and foresaw the inaugural A-Week Awards that Seskile was talking about. That is recognition of women in construction, which we have today. So these are the milestones that we can't forget. And we simply say we learned from that kind of leadership. It is for us to take the baton and move forward and make sure that we represent, and positively so, in terms of further development in that regard. I also want to commend all of you today here and all the speakers that you are straight to the point like what he wanted. He would say to you, don't come with your LKS. I won't say what that means. I can similarly can see what I'm talking about. It means being straight to the point, and you guys were straight to the point. We still have so much time to the end of the program, but it means that we're going to end the program earlier than expected. May you please clap hands for yourselves. And I know you're clapping for me too for directing this program well. Mr. Tole, may you please come to the fore to, it's Mr. Sorry about that, to represent the family. Then from then we'll get our Deputy Chairperson, Babu Tlamini, to do us a vote of thanks.
Jehovah is your name. Singers. Jehovah is your name. Jehovah is your name. Jehovah is your name. Jehovah. Come on. Your name. We call you mighty warrior. Mighty warrior. You are great in battle. Your Jehovah is your name. We call you mighty warrior. Mighty warrior. You are great in battle. Jehovah is your name.
Thank you, Program Director. I have a little confession, Program Director. As I was sitting there, I was looking at the average height of the previous speakers. And you will not understand the trauma that the short people like me have before you come on stage if everybody has been so tall. But if I fumble this thing, it appears I don't have to do anything. Okay, thank you so much. I'd like to greet the Khoroyadira and Gamede families, all leadership present here, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. My mother, Anomathemba Magamede Stole, is an older sister to Stambu. I have been asked by the family to say a few words on this occasion in gratitude for the life of the phenomenal Cyril Vuyani Gamede. Stambu is a hero to us as a family. All his accomplishments in his professional life fade when compared to his role as a son, a husband, a father, a brother, and uncle, Usbali Umalu. What he shared of himself with the world, he dedicated umpteen times more for the family. He has left an indelible mark in the lives of everyone in the family, setting the bar for those who come after him very high. My understanding is that his Tagazelo were names of heroes of the tribe, people who made an impact in its rise and prosperity. I will therefore be strongly recommending to the family that from this day forth, Stambu's name must be Tagazelo Saka Gamede. Gamede, Makadlela, Nonsansa, Skushan, Stambu. Stambu was a soldier, literally and figuratively. Ijohn Ilgatambu. As a family, we are proud, very proud, of the fact that Stambu never sold out the revolution. He was solid, unshaken, and unshakable in his belief that the fruits of the struggle for liberation should be shared equitably, that the black child deserves a bright future. As has been shared by many speakers before me, Stambu made a lasting impact in the transformation of society towards the goal of a free, democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous South Africa and continent. He did it in the trenches of the liberation struggle. He did it in the trenches of corporate warfare. He did it in the often toxic corridors of state-owned enterprises, sacrificing everything to build a capable state. The public sector eats black professionals for breakfast. On behalf of Umpamore, Neo and the entire family, we would like to thank all of his friends, comrades, colleagues at work, the professional associations, the military, thank you, for all they've done to allow him to make this massive impact during his life. We would like to thank the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure and the CIDB for hosting him as he took on his final mission, and for arranging this memorial service. I'm going to conclude by just confirming the following. Stambu will be laid to rest at a private ceremony on Tuesday the 10th in West Park, at West Park Cemetery. The funeral will be broadcast online on various platforms. The family is hosting one more memorial on Sunday, on the 8th of August, to accommodate many others, as has been said, who would like to say something and express their wishes to honor him. So the broadcast links and other details for both his memorial service and the funeral will be shared by tomorrow afternoon. We urge you to please disseminate it as widely as possible, so that if there are people you've missed, you are able to reach them so that they can join online when they can. Siyabonga.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Tole and the family. Allow me to share with you a very brief poem. May time soften your pain. In time of darkness, love sees. In time of silence, love hears. In time of doubt, love hopes. In time of sorrow, love heals. And in all times, love remembers. May time soften the pain until all that remains is the warmth of the memories and the love. Deputy Chair, may you please come and give us a vote of thanks.
When peace like a river endeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, help me say, whatever my Lord thou hast taught me to say, it is well, with my soul.
Babu Jobe, nami ngathi nginayo le nkinga. Where this device is quite often above my height limit. Having said that, ngicela ngokukhethekile ukuthi ngibingelele umama uGamede, nomndeni wakaGamede wonkana, abangani abakhona la, bakaBaba uGamede, colleagues from the board, the management, ngiyanibingelela nonke ngokukhethekileyo. La sikhuluma ngeqhawe lamaqhawe. This is the champion of champions, Baba uGamede. Ngezathu ke mina i-relationship yami, all the years I've seen him as one of my mentors, and he has been definitely the great mentor, and I've seen him as the big boss, and indeed he has been the big boss for most part of my life. We understand also, as on behalf of the board, that in situations of work environment, there will be occasions where mhlambe ngubeke ngesizulu lokho, lapho mhlambe sizosithola sibe namabatha, sanyathela sathi masinyathela mhlambe kwaze kwazwela kumndeni wakaGamede. Ngizocela ukuthi ke uma kube khona onjengalokho la sinyathele khona ngamabatha as CIDB, ngiqondise kumama Gamede kakhulukazi ukuthi sicela ukudlulisa amazwi oxolo kuleyo ndawo. Indeed, none of us has anticipated that on this day, on this date, and at this point in time, the spotlight would be shining at all of us assembling in this venue to talk about and celebrate the life of Babu Gamede, who I will not call Ustambu like many of the previous speakers, because I have a different relationship with him. As the boss, I still see him as a boss. We never knew that it will happen this way and today. And even now, it does not sink in. One still hopes that somewhere, somehow, somebody will correct the fake news, as it appears to be one of those fake reports that we now have to face as friends, as colleagues, and I don't even want to imagine how Umam Gamede would feel under this situation. But we would extend our words of comfort, that may God give you strength to carry on, like many of us, and some of us have been through this route, and indlela yethu sonke le, it's just that no one gets to be familiar and get used to it. On behalf of the board, would then like to thank, or we thank, the Minister Delil, for having allowed us and giving us permission to have this day to be arranged so that we can all be able to say farewell to our highly decorated CEO of the CIDB. We also thank the Deputy Minister for her very encouraging and kind words, which I think those words have become a challenge to us in the CIDB, the board, management as a whole, that this baton must not lie fallow, and it must be taken by all of us to then effect all the plans that the minister and other stakeholders, in particular the BPC, Built Environment section, which they have talked about. We also thank the availability of the minister, or deputy minister availing her time, because we think it is befitting the stature of Ubaba Gamede, as most or all the speakers that have spoken already here have expressed that explicitly. The dignity that Mr. Gamede deserves. Iqhawe leli qhawe lamaqhawe, futhi ngizothi umholi lo wabaholi. He would stand his ground. Babu Teles has talked about the principle that Babu Gamede would live by. And some of us who may not have known Babu Gamede before the CITP time, I'm sure they've also witnessed that he will not compromise the principle. I will explain the principle, and this is a situation where if a decision has to be made, Babu Gamede will not outsource decision making, and he will not allow any person that is not going to face the consequences of that decision to hijack that decision. He would often remind us that is the accounting office and what that means. Some of us may not have liked that because maybe in our lack of better word experience in these situations, such leadership attribute of Babu Gamede would have been seen as maybe it's defying authority. Certainly it is not. I've never subscribed to that. Maybe because I come a long way with him. Babu Hangwani has spoken earlier on. He mentioned Umgeni Water. We were there at that time. This attribute of standing the principle, ngesiZulu, sometimes it can be interpreted as unenkani. However, when it comes to maybe people of different color, that will be defined in a manner that says this person is a very competent leader, because they will say he stands his ground, is a straight talker, and is unambiguous. But when it comes to other people, it can be seen differently. But maybe this is also a lesson for those that need that lesson, that in leadership positions, anybody that displays this kind of qualities is actually a real leader. And we've heard, again, the speakers earlier on stating that Babu Gamede will not compromise his principle. And the minute you do that, quite often you lose the big picture, direction, and the path that you need to take. Fortunately for us, we had the leader of the caliber of Babu Gamede, and the decorations that he has had, which he has, they speak volumes. And we've seen that in application as well. It's not a question of on paper we have this, but in practice we have something different. And for that reason, then I would again refer myself back to the family, in particular Umam Gamede, to say thank you very much for sharing this champion of champions and the leader of the leaders with the CIDP. And also, as CIDP, we are thankful that we will be counted among the entities that Ubabu Gamede has applied his leadership, and indeed as one of the entities that he has led. I have known Babu Gamede before the CIDP era, and from that time one decided to actually try and understand the man, the person behind the name, the person behind the titles, and the person behind the accolades. And for us, and for me in particular, and speaking for other colleagues who were with at the time, were actually intrigued. He was the first director of operations in Umgeni Water, and the black director of operations, the first one for that entity. However, we were intrigued by the fact that there came this young man who was very matured and highly experienced for his age. But he didn't carry that as a chip on his shoulder. This is the leader that will come down from the highest office and talk to everybody up to the shop floor level. And that is why most of the time, and all the time, as far as I'm concerned, I will call him the big boss. And we learned superior logic from Babu Gamede. He would have this ability. In complex situations, he will just simplify things for that to be understood by everyone and find a solution as we go through. But also, mostly, he would give you the skill, support you, to develop you, for you to be able to build your own bridges, because he knew that you would not be there all the time to actually build bridges for us. We are thankful of that. And the fact that we have so many speakers who have spoken as if they were reading, or they are reading from the same document, It's actually amazing. I have seen situations where Ubab Gamede as the leader, when he addresses you and when he deals with you, you would think that you are the only person that he knows in the entire of his lifetime. The way he will give attention to you at that very specific moment to deal and address your issue at that particular time. However, if one then suddenly you realize that at the same time Bab Gamede is bigger than life itself, he is playing very critical and crucial roles in various organizations, formations, and so on. And yet, he will give you that attention as if you are the only person that he knows in life that he has to deal with at that particular time. Very intriguing and amazing again leadership quality that one learns from and has learned from. It's as if he was having this very neat filing system, and each stakeholder of his being tucked away neatly in a specific file, and when he has to draw that file, he draws that only specific file and gives attention to that only specific file, as if that's the only file that actually exists. So we thank Bab Gamede for that. And I think we've all learned from that quality and qualities that he has shown over the years. And for it to come to CITP as well, I think it's a blessing, which says, here is the route and the path that we should take as a CITP. On behalf of the board again, I would also state that the board has seen very pointed CIDP and focused CIDP at the time, very short time of the tenure of Bab Gamede. Then we started talking about stabilizing the organization, and we knew that knowing that we have leadership as the accounting office of his caliber, most of us were never disappointed. When it came to the mandate of the CIDB, carrying out the mandate, which has been expressed explicitly by the BBC as well, the built environment section, we have seen progress and very pointed focus in taking the organization forward in various areas of performance of the CIDP, which have been stated explicitly earlier on, which I need not repeat. And again, I would want then to urge management to learn, if they haven't learned, to then take the organization forward and using the principles that Bab Gamede has shared with all of us. And I trust that management will run with that competently so. Then in different kind of words in reference to the quotes that have been made by my program director earlier on. I'll read it as from Dr. Zeus, who wrote, "Don't cry because it is over, but smile because it happened." And I would then also leave Mem Gamede with the quote from the scripture reading, Timothy 2, chapter 4, 7 to 8. "I have fought a good fight. I have finished the race. I've kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day." Indeed, the big boss has run his race, and he has had a very good fight. And he has earned the crown. With those words, on behalf of the board, we say bon voyage to our CEO, and thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert Lamini, Deputy Chair of the CIDB Board. You know, Robert Lamini is my boss, so if he says Ustambo was his boss, hey, it's a mammoth task. Angwani Bonebori, he was the boss of your bosses. Is that right? Hey, it's simple. Boss, it's Amaile. It's hard, but we spoke. We feel better now that we spoke about our leader and what we have learned from him. To everyone who was able to make this day, physically here today, at home, in your offices, anywhere in the country and beyond, we highly thank you as CIDB. CIDB will communicate to you the arrangements. Owabsitole has already told us about what is going to happen in the coming few days, but CIDB will also be able to communicate the arrangements of the last days in terms of the funeral. We have come to the end of the program. There is a book outside there as you move out, wherein you can write briefly your condolences to the family, so that they can look at that and smoothen their hearts with regards to what you have to say about Ustambo. So please make sure that you have your brief message about how well or how you lived with the late Mr. Cyril Vuyani Gamede. Thank you so much once more. Thank you. We have come to the end of the program. Thank you. May you please remain for a second. I just want to close the program like this, but just remain. Candice, are we good? Thank you.
Say it one more time. Amazing grace. Say amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Oh, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Come on, I once was lost. Say it again. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Amen, amen, you say. Amen, 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 amen,